You are listening to the Prosper Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosper Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond. So today I want to talk about, do you have to get permission? Do you have to get permission to do something? Do you have to get permission to make a decision to do something in your life? And it could be anything. And can you make decisions, or do you have to get permission? And that depends on, it could be in business, it could be in your personal life, and most people would see it most readily in their personal life. And the reason it's significant about whether or not you have to get permission is because it slows down decisions. And when you start to grow a business, for example, or you start to grow your law firm, and you see something that you think, oh, I think I should try that, or I think I should move my office location, or I think I should hire somebody, or I think I should do this kind of marketing. Can you make that decision? When people start growing their law firm or their business or doing anything, the key to that is decisions. And when you start growing and when you start doing something significant, the thing that improves your business, the thing that improves your life, are the decisions you make. And when you increase the speed of your decision making and you get better at making decisions, your life will improve and your business will grow faster. So if you want to try some marketing, and your significant other, your partner, your spouse, your business manager, your office manager, your bookkeeper, whoever it is, if you have to then go talk to them about it because you cannot make a decision on your own, you have to get permission, what happens? Well, what happens is you're in the moment. If you believe in the energy that exists in the world, if you believe in the power, the electricity, the things, the kind of the woohoo stuff of what moves back and forth in the energy of the universe, then you would know, or you would learn, that the energy and the universe loves speed. So when something comes to you, and it's also this idea of, I got an idea, which came from somewhere, whether you believe in God, whether you believe in spirit, whether you believe in karma, whatever you believe in, is the idea that this came to you and you saw something, you discovered something. Oh, I should do this. I think this would be great. The longer you wait to do it, the colder it gets. And that may seem like some kind of far out stuff. And if you don't believe it, that's fine. However, just in a practical sense, if you say, all right, I want to schedule an appointment, I want to do something. It could be marketing. You could say, I want to put up a billboard. I want to do something. Do you act on that thought? Do you act on that idea? Or do you delay it? If you delay it, then the opportunity starts to become less and less. It's kind of like in a sales call or something like that. When people contact your law firm to see about hiring you, they're ready to buy. They've made a decision, whether they're going to buy that moment or whether they're going to pay you later. They're in the moment. They're ready to buy. So it's important, and you should know that, it's important to be responsive. So thinking about it the same way, for example, let's say you want to buy a car. So you click on Carvana, or you drive down to a dealership, you look at a car, you see a car you love, and you think, oh, I should just buy it. I love this car. I want this car. If you don't buy it, and I think everybody can understand this, if you don't buy it, if you don't make the decision to buy, then you leave the lot, you think about it, you ponder it, other things start happening, and you're less likely to buy that car. Time passes, the decision wanes, you didn't make a decision. So in the car example, maybe that's an impulse buy and you shouldn't have bought the car, and maybe the waiting is a good thing. But if you're going to make a decision in your business or your life to do something, think about, do you have to get permission? And if you have to get permission, who are you getting permission from? Now, I remember in my legal career, I worked for, I think, about 5.5 years in the district attorney's office. When I made the decision to go and open my own law practice, I remember my boss at that point, they had been who was running the office and who was supposed to be the number two, who was supposed to be the so-called deputy assistant district attorney. And I didn't have that position. I'd shared it with someone else, and neither one of us had really the title or the money, but we were doing it. When I made the decision, and he was very supportive of the decision for me to leave because he knew he knew what my plan was. He then offered me a promotion. And I think at that time, I wasn't making that much money. It was back in the 90s. I think I was making just under $40,000 a year. And he offered me the position of being number two, of being the deputy DA. And I remember talking to my parents about it. And the raise I was going to get if I stayed was $7,500. So I'd go from about $40,000 up to almost like $48,000, which I guess is 20% raise. And so my parents, their point of view was, well, why would you leave? That's, I guess, guaranteed money. You're safe. You're secure. You worked hard. You earned that. Why wouldn't you stay and do that? Now, in that situation, I was mid-30s. I'd always planned on doing this, so I wasn't having the discussion with them of whether or not I should do it. That was in the past. I'd planned on leaving the DA's office the day I started. I was not going to be a career prosecutor. That wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. I simply wanted to get trained and get better and better at being a trial lawyer, somebody that stood in front of juries and judges and tried cases. So that was there for my training. But it's interesting because from their perspective, it was probably unwise or risky to leave if I was going to get that raise. So if I were in a position where I said, should I do this? Do you think it's wise? And I was trying to get their permission. That would have been a very difficult decision for me. So just think about that. If you're going to do something, do you have to get permission? And who do you have to get permission from? I also remember after I started my law practice, and interestingly enough, a friend of mine who was a little bit ahead of me in his career, when I said that to him, I said, well, I would get a $7,500 raise. And he said, look, you can make that in 1 week. So he was supportive. I wasn't asking him permission either, but he was supportive of it. And that was a completely different mindset that he had. So I remember when I bought my first new car. So I'm 36 years old, and I'd been driving by the Mercedes dealership on the way to work. I'd wanted one probably my whole life. And so then I didn't ask permission. I just bought it. If I'd asked permission from my dad or got his opinion, which is really the same thing in some respects, and I remember everything he said. That's an expensive car. The whole idea of don't buy a new car because don't take the depreciation. It's expensive to insure. It's expensive to repair. You really just need a car for transportation to get you from one place to another. He gave me a long kind of example or harangue about he considers a car just transportation and the Mercedes is completely unnecessary. Well, I bought it. I was getting it. I got it. I was thrilled. I remember cranking up the radio, opening the sunroof, rolling the windows down on a beautiful day, and I got so much joy from it. Interestingly, even though he would never have approved of me buying it, the first time he sat in it, he loved it. He said, "This is a really nice car." To this day, because I've always had Mercedes, every time he gets in one of my cars, he talks about how nice it is. Now, when I first started coaching, I was married at the time, and my then wife, I guess she had mixed emotions about it because, and maybe she fought me on it, I just don't remember because I was hell-bent on doing it. Maybe I'd already made the decision. But I remember that the coaching program I was in, because they were trying to raise up our wealth mindset, they were trying to get us to change our environment, all of the events were held at a Ritz-Carlton. Now, it was a pretty big group, so we got what the coach called Marriott prices at the Ritz. And I remember going to that, and there was always a revolt with my then wife. It would start out good, so happy to be going here, so happy to be here, this is terrific, I can't believe we're here. And then once we got into basically a day or half a day of coaching, she was completely triggered. Everything that she heard offended her, scared her, made her want to stop. And so then we would basically get in a fight, and I was then fighting against her to grow. So I did not have her permission, or I had her permission as she had revoked it. When I was struggling, and I struggled for years, and then I remember I went through so many bookkeepers, and I remember this one bookkeeper where we were sitting there, we were looking at the books, and we're trying to figure out, how to make this small business more profitable. And she said, you need to cut out this coaching. I don't know what you're getting out of that. It's a big budget item. You need to stop it. So if I had to get permission from her, I would have just quit. And I would have thought, oh, I'm being safe. This is a good thing. Now, I don't really have people in my life anymore that I'd have to get permission from. I've had bookkeepers, my ex-wife, my parents. I had a chief operating officer that the way I was trying to run my business was to put that person in charge. And so bounce decisions off of her because I respected her. She had worked in businesses, but I had put myself kind of unwittingly in a position of having to get permission from her. And honestly, it probably cost me 3 years of growth. It probably held me back for 3 years. She did a lot of good things in my business. I'm still friends with her. I wouldn't say that her decisions were wrong. They weren't bad. It's just a different perspective. I have a much higher risk tolerance, partly because of all the things I've been through, than probably most normal people. And so when I had to get permission from all of those people, it stunted my growth. It stopped me from growing and doing the things that I needed to do. So I want to ask you this question as I'm talking about this. What about you? What are you doing in your life? What are you thinking about when you think of something that you want to do? Let's say you want to go on a vacation, you want to take your kids on a vacation, you want to go camping, you want to put your children in a private school or something like that. Can you make that decision, or do you have to ask permission? And when you ask permission, does that person have the ability to stop you? Does that person have the ability to shut it down? And this is significant, because if you're in a relationship with somebody, if you're married, you have children, or it's a big thing. It's not insignificant, and it was something that I went through, and it was not easy to go through, but it's at least something that you should be aware about when you want to grow, when you need to do something, when you're yearning to make your life better. Do you have to get permission? And it could be your parents, it could be your business partner, it could be your spouse, it could be your significant other, and it could also be yourself. It could also be the voices rattling around in your head. It could be you have to get permission from someone who's no longer even alive, or somebody that was in your life that was meaningful, like a grandparent or someone like that. It could be a parent. Do you have to get permission? Or are you able to go and do what you need to do and live with that and feel comfortable with that? Or do you have to get permission? Now, you could be in a situation where you have business partners, or you could have investors, and you have to go get permission. You have to run it by people. You have to have a meeting. You have to sit in a room. You have to talk about it, because the way your life is organized, that's the way it works. I can tell you from experience that, and I've been told that there are two kinds of people that start a business. There are partnership people, and there are solos. And for me, it's pretty clear to me that I'm not a partnership person because of this issue. I want to act fast. I want to make a decision. If I make a decision and it doesn't work out, I don't want somebody sitting there throwing it up in my face, saying, you should have consulted me. You should have asked me about this. If you'd asked me about this, I would have told you this would never work. I don't want to go through that. A lot of the decisions that I make, some are great, some are terrible, some are in the middle. And that's the nature of decisions. If you're going to grow your business, you make 10 decisions. Some of them are going to be wrong. Some of them are not going to be good. Some of them are not going to work out. The faster you figure that out and you can stop doing it, which is also another decision. I committed to that. I can't pull it off. I'm going to pull the plug on it. I'm going to stop doing it. Because let's say you make 10 decisions and 2 or 3 aren't good, so you need to stop them as soon as you can, depending on what kind of contracts or whatever you enter into. The other 3 or 4 or 5, they're okay. They're either not hurting or not really helping. Maybe they don't take that many resources. But then one of them is fantastic. It leaps you forward. All of a sudden, your life is better, your business is better, just because of that one decision. And that's the way it's going to pretty much work out. And the more you can look at decisions and think about, they're just decisions. They don't carry this huge moral baggage. They're just decisions. They don't have to be right. They just have to exist, and you have to make the decision. Am I going to do this? Am I going to move into another market? Am I going to do this particular marketing plan? Am I going to hire this vendor to do this? It's just a decision. You won't really know whether it's a good decision or a bad decision, or it was a smart thing to do or a dumb thing to do, until after you do it and try it. It's really almost impossible to know. You can think you know how it's going to work. You can think this is going to be terrific. Interestingly, some of the things that will work out are a little bit unexpected, and sometimes a sure thing does not work out. So how quickly can you pivot? Because it's important. How quickly can you make a decision, move in a direction, stop, alter that, move in another direction, and keep going? Or do you have to get permission? So in your life, just think about it for a minute. Are your decisions group efforts? In other words, if you have a small law firm and you have two partners, are all of your decisions group efforts? Or is somebody in a decision-making role where the other people allow that person to make those decisions? I think both exist. So you look at your setup and just look at it. The other thing is, are you in a relationship? Are you married? Are you in some kind of long-term relationship with a partner? In terms of, not by that I mean a relationship partner. The term partner, when I say it that way, I'm talking about your significant other, whether you're married or not married or whatever that is. So, for instance, if you want to go buy a new car, and just think about it for a minute. If you want to go buy a new car, can you go buy a new car? Or does that violate the rules of the relationship? And we have, Brianna Williams and I have a coaching program. I remember when I hired different coaches, I remember hiring a particular life coach. I signed up for a very expensive program, and it was something that I thought I needed, and I did need it. And I remember my wife at the time, when I committed to that program and the money it was going to take for that program, I don't know how to describe how she acted, but she was, probably the best thing to say was furious. And the reasons she was furious are, one, because of a scarcity mindset that we don't have the money. This program, for me to go do this retreat, was $30,000. And so I made a down payment, I think, of $1,000 just to sign up, thinking I'll pay the other $29,000 and then I'll go to it. Well, she was furious. It was a big dust up. It was an awful thing. It was, can you get your money back? Why would you do this without talking to me? And at that time, I purposefully, at a break, went and met with them without her there. Now, that's probably not an honorable thing to do. It's probably not a fair thing to do. And if you're watching this and you're in a relationship and you're married, you could very well think that what I did was completely wrong. And I accept that. I understand that. I wouldn't say that that's untrue. However, the effect of it was I was going to stop. I was going to be stopped because I did not have permission. I did not get permission. Now, had I asked my wife at the time for permission, the answer would have been no, which is probably why I met with them at the break and did it the way I did it. Now, whether that's morally right or wrong, it just is. It's just true. Now, in that situation, the reaction of the person I was in a relationship with at the time is, it's not that she didn't want me to grow. She'd be happy for me to grow, make more money, make a better life for us. but she wanted to do two things. She wanted to keep us safe and secure so that we had money to live, which is certainly something that needs to be in your mindset. I mean, you can't just break yourself with a decision. This wasn't going to break us. So she wants to stay safe. She wants to stay secure, but she also doesn't want to give up something that she thinks that she should have instead of me. So when people stop you, they're not doing it for the wrong reasons. The reasons are really pure and helpful. But think about it when you go through your business, you're going through your life, just become aware of it. So at least you know it's happening, and also know it slows down your decision making. And ask yourself, when you need to make a significant decision, do you have to ask permission? If you want to know more, go to prosperitlaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.